yeah, rest of it's still silver. Rest is that kind of nice shiny gloss black finish like the rest of the gun. And that simply allows the slide to come straight off. The hammer doesn't have to be cocked like on a lot of guns. Like a 1911, you'd have to push the slide back to then remove it. No, it just comes straight off. And you can see how incredibly sort of simple it all is. These aren't actually slide rail inserts. Like most guns have got an internal chassis with the rails on. These are actually part of the frame. It's almost like the whole thing's just kind of been stamped or something. It is cast, but it's cast very well. And yeah, it's just incredibly simple. There's hardly anything to it. As you can see, there's a trigger bar that runs there. Pretty much nothing going on up front here. Just a trigger, magazine release. And back here you've got a very simple single action trigger with a half cock. Just simple. It works well, it's simple. I'm glad they didn't overcomplicate it with anything here. I guess credit to the design. It should go to Hudson since it's their design. Whilst we're looking inside, I might as well show you the slide as well, how that comes apart. Very similar to a 1911. It's simply a scaled down 1911 in a lot of respects. So recoil spring and guide rod there. It's quite a strong spring. It definitely doesn't feel like it needs upgrading like I feel with a lot of pistols. Next comes the plug for that. At this point you can twist your barrel bushing and get it off. Again, very similar to a small 1911. So you can see it's scaled down. It's a lot smaller. You can hear the rear sight just waiting to fall out now. Push the barrel off through the front of the slide, and there is your little front sight, simply held in through that notch. Slide is very lightweight. It feels tough, but the lightweight does give it a nice snappy cycle, which I always hope for with a metal gun. A lot of them can be quite sort of sluggish and slow, but this is really snappy. Might as well be plastic. Something WE do with a lot of their guns is have a fake firing pin, and that is spring-loaded, so the hammer does actually hit that, which is always a nice little feature when you're looking down the sights to actually see a firing pin. Rear sight looks like it might come out, although yeah, rear sight is drifted in, it feels like, probably held in by the blowback unit. Haven't figured out how to take this out yet, actually, but I don't have any need to at the moment. Unlike a lot of gas blowbacks that have got a hollow piston, a hollow sort of nozzle with a little piston that goes inside it, this is the piston. This is a solid piece, and it simply pushes against the hollow interior of this to create the blowback. So a good little design, very nicely made, nice and lightweight. Over to the barrel. As you can see, it does indeed have locking lugs across the entire circumference. Give it a wiggle and you can get your barrel out. Very similar to a TM hop unit. You've got your wheel on the bottom there. Now I've got mine all the way up to the top position, and as you can see, there's quite a lot of hop applied there. However, it isn't very effective at lifting anything. I'd probably need to give the trigger bar a bit of a bend so it puts even more pressure on. This doesn't matter hugely to me. I'm not a skirmisher. I'm not trying to get some crazy long range shots. But yeah, the hop up needs a little bit of sort of fiddling and maybe bedding in until it really lifts BBs very well. It reaches the end of my garden, which is all I really care about. But maybe if you're going to skirmish it, you might want to fiddle around with the hop unit a bit. In terms of performance, that's the only thing that I could possibly say is not great about this gun. The hop up could use some improvement. Right, just putting it back together here. If you know your way around a 1911, this will be easy. Straight back on, push your slide lock, drop it through, and then snap your bit of spring steel over it. And you're ready to go again. Okay, so serrations on the slide are quite nice and deep. You can get a good grip on these. Not that you really need to get a great grip on an airsoft gun. It's nothing like trying to cock a real one, which really requires quite a bit of effort. You know, you can do this with your little finger. But yeah, quite nice and sharp. Looks very industrial. The whole sort of design here just looks very kind of basic. Looks very industrial, looks very Russian, which of course it is. Below your serrations there, you can see the stampings, which do indeed look like stampings rather than just being cast in. A nice little feature is how they're kind of askew. They're not actually in a straight line, as if they've been done kind of roughly, trying to get them out the door as quickly as possible. I'm not sure how realistic these markings are. You see a lot of different markings on different Tokarevs, and there are so many different clones of Tokarevs. There are a whole number of sort of markings that relate to different models and things. But a nice touch is that it does match between the stampings on the slide there and on the frame. And it is a nice touch how they do look like they've been stamped by hand and they're not perfectly lined up. All goes really nicely with the image of the gun. And yeah, much nicer than I think like the KWA. Just doesn't look right. It's got a plain black finish. It might have like a red star on it somewhere, but it just doesn't look right to me. Something else that this definitely beats the KWA over is the trigger. The KWA has got this awful trigger that can move up and down like half a centimetre. I believe it was meant to work as some kind of safety. You have to pull it in a certain way, otherwise it won't shoot. I really don't know what they were doing with that, but it's an absolute mess. It's mushy, it's long, sometimes it won't shoot. I think the KWA is an absolute failure of a gun. And you can see that in the way that a lot of UK shops are simply trying to get rid of them. I think Red Wolf, had them for $80 or something. They were just trying to get rid of them. These are a superior product. That's one of the few times you'll hear someone say that. WE is very much superior to KWA. I'm not a big KWA fan, to be honest, anyway, but definitely in regard to the TT33, I think this is the best one you can buy, personally. So, trigger is a very nice, crisp single action, absolutely no take up whatsoever, no movement until it breaks. Perfect. If only all single action guns felt like that. Just totally predictable, you know exactly what it's doing. Reset is very short, so you can fire this gun very quickly. Actually, I'll give you a little double tap here. Okay, that wasn't a double tap, but there you go. Yeah, really nice little trigger there. Just feels very precise. Hammer is an interesting one. It does indeed have a half-cock position, however, as you can see, it does like to shoot from half-cock sometimes. Not sure if that's the case once the gun's actually been cocked. Let's see, lower the hammer. Yeah, okay, so half-cock doesn't work particularly well. I would simply treat this gun as if it has no safety, no half-cock. You're either going to keep it holstered with a round in the chamber and maybe manually lower the hammer. I don't think it will, yeah, once it's in half-cock, even if you drop it, it won't shoot. So, yeah, you could cock it, put it in half-cock, and then when you draw it, cock the hammer. Or you could just have it unloaded with a full magazine, and as you draw it, ready to go. It's not the kind of gun you can have in condition 1, which is hammer back, safety on. That isn't a manual safety, unless you decide to keep that annoying little piece of steel there, which I find very inconvenient. Hammer is an interesting one. It's very long, as you can see. It extends far past the rear of the gun, far more than on most other guns, and it practically blocks the rear sight. That must be why the rear sight is so high, because that hammer is so high. It is very easy to cock since it's got that massive spur on it. It looks more like a gear. It's like a cog. It seems a little bit unnecessary for it to be this big, and I'm not sure if the hammer design / kind of position in the gun is quite as realistic as it could be. I'm not sure if the real one does stick out that much. But either way, it adds to the kind of quirkiness. It's just a really interesting gun to shoot, and it's always fun for me to pick this up and have a fiddle with it. It's just different to the other guns you'll buy. As you can see, you've got your little silver firing pin in there, which the hammer does indeed hit, which has messed up the hammer quite quickly. I don't think there's a whole lot of steel on this gun. I think it's mostly typical Asian kind of pot metal. But it all feels robust enough. I really can't imagine anything on this breaking badly unless you really, really abused it. And everything works together nicely. You do not get the feeling that you get with a lot of older WE guns, that it's only kind of just about working, that it's not really made to function very well. This feels very precisely made, and everything works as it should. Right, something interesting. I don't know if anyone's seen my comments on some other videos. Some people talking about power stroking. I hate that term. It sounds really weird. I don't know who came up with that name, power stroke. I'd say an overhand rack. I think that sounds better. This gun doesn't do it. This is actually the first gun I've ever had that will not release the slide catch when you rack the slide. If we take another gun that of course does do it, like this Beretta here, as soon as the slide is brought back, that slide notch will, that slide catch will snap down and allow the slide to release. This gun does not do it, and it's simply down to design. It just couldn't work like that. There's just nothing putting pressure on this. On a 1911, you've got that little ball and that little ball bearing putting pressure on here. There's just nothing interacting with this that would make it do that. So it will not release until you hit the slide catch. That's just how it works. It's not a fault. I'm not sure what the real one's like, but I couldn't really see how they could get around that. I guess it kind of goes with the simplicity of the gun though. It's just basic. Magazine catch works as you would expect. It's just like a 1911. One feature that's a little disappointing maybe, I'm not sure if it's realistic, it definitely doesn't look realistic, is the fact that you've got a little Phillips head screw holding it together. I'm not sure if they really used Phillips screws or on guns, you know, 100 years ago. It doesn't look right to me. Just that little Phillips, that cross head sitting in there. It looks like it should be an Allen key or maybe just a flat head. Doesn't look right. Might try and replace that at some point. It just doesn't look like the kind of thing that a Russian gun maker would put their guns together with. But it works. Holds the magazine in securely. Right, I haven't spoken about the magazine yet. As you can see, it has its own lanyard loop, as does the frame. It's an interesting pistol in that the grip is only just bigger than the magazine. It's quite a long magazine to accommodate that long, can't think of the bottleneck type cartridge. Sort of like a small rifle round. So it's quite a long cartridge in there. But very slim. One thing I really have to get across when I'm talking about this gun is how slim everything is. I mean, I've got small hands, and this is a really small gun. Let's compare it to a contemporary pistol like this Beretta. Now this will put it in perspective for you. So here's a Beretta, relatively normal sized, maybe a bit chunky. Here is the Tokarev. I mean, look at the difference in slide width here. And the height of the gun, considering this was a service pistol, you know, and this is a modern kind of service pistol, there is a huge difference in size. It's quite long, but it's just so slim. I mean, let's compare the magazine. This is a single stack magazine. Obviously, this is a double stack. You can see them. It's just sort of scaled down. It's a little bit longer, but yeah, overall, you can see it is considerably slimmer by about a centimetre there. And the slide profile is much, much thinner. Probably sounds like I'm exaggerating. You'd understand when you get this in your hand that it is a very slim pistol, much smaller, much slimmer than a 1911. It's like a scaled down, maybe 2/3, 3/4 scale 1911. That's what it feels like in the hand. Magazine has a better capacity than the other Tokarevs out there, I believe. I think the KWA holds 11. This can hold 15, maybe 14 actually. Just pull down the spring there and push them in manually. There's no hole in there, and the front is sealed. So actually this looks quite realistic in terms of the front anyway. Okay, no it doesn't really, because the witness holes are full. No, okay, I was going to try and make a point of how that makes it look realistic, because the front's sealed, but really you're never going to make one of these magazines look realistic. Alright, you've got your standard valve that you'd see on any other gun. Even though this design is quite old and the Hudson gun is a little bit obscure, it is just your basic gas blowback magazine. Nothing too interesting about most of this. I personally use Garda power up gas. Fill it up as so. It has got a silent fill valve. Haven't encountered any leaking or anything so far. It's a good robust little magazine, as I said. 14 or 15 shots plus 1 in the chamber. I have a feeling it's 14 in the mag plus 1 in the chamber. And this does easily have the gas capacity to go through that. One thing the KWA might have over this is gas kind of efficiency. It might get a few more shots out. But to be honest, as long as it can happily empty the magazine, which this can, I'm happy. It's a very slim magazine. You're not going to get great efficiency out of something like this. And I think it functions excellently for the price and the simplicity of the design. Something a little disappointing is this lanyard loop here. It is indeed silver. I tried to make it black, but it wouldn't take to the finish. It must be a different material. It just wouldn't kind of pick up the my bluing finish. Right. If you're going to put a lanyard loop on this gun, put it on the mag, because if you put it on this and you drop the gun, boop, it comes straight out. So it is not held in by anything. It is just pushed in there. I would keep it out, but you've got these holes. It kind of doesn't look right without something there. So I do keep that on there, but do not use it as a lanyard loop, because you will drop your gun and expect it to bounce off your cord, and it won't. It will just hit the floor. So that's, I guess, a negative, slightly disappointing feature. One of the few negatives I can really think about with this gun. Other than that, I mean, I just absolutely love it. In a lot of ways, it's quite an ugly gun, but there's just a quirkiness about it and something that just makes it really enjoyable to fiddle with. It's just different. I mean, that weird hammer and the sights being off, and yeah, it's just an interesting gun that is really enjoyable to shoot. In terms of performance, FPS definitely seems good with my Garda power-up gas, around 300 FPS. It appears. No, I still don't have a chronograph. Don't moan at me about that. They're expensive. Unless someone out there wants to buy one for me, I'm just giving you estimates. It shoots, I'd say, a little bit hotter than your stock TM pistol, although the hop isn't quite as good. So you're getting good power, not such great range. The hop could do with a little bit of fiddling. Maybe a better hop rubber in there. It looks TM compatible. I can't confirm that. It looked about right. But to be honest, this isn't the kind of gun that you buy for excellent performance. You'd buy it because either you're a World War II airsofter and you want something that's period correct, or someone like me that just has an interest in intriguing guns. And this, it looks great. It would look great sort of on a display. It's fun to shoot targets with. No complaints overall about this gun, especially for the price. Like I said, Uncompany sell this for $66. I hope they still have some in stock because I might buy another. They are... at that price, that is an absolute steal. Anyway, guess I'll just finish up with, I'll do a few little shots with it. Like I said, I use Garda power-up gas, which works very nicely, really crisp kick, so you can see here. Alright, lock back. It's really snappy. It feels like a plastic pistol would feel, but with more kick. Can't actually get over quite how positive and crisp that blowback is. There's absolutely no sluggishness to it. I didn't really want to spoil this, but my next review will be the WE Browning High Power, which is an older gun of theirs. And talking about sluggish kick, let's see. Yeah, this just isn't as fast. Yeah, you're not filled with confidence when you shoot this, let's just say that. It feels like it's going to run out of gas any second, whereas this just feels... Oh, here's a little feature. So, uncocked, put the magazine in, pull the trigger, nothing. Realistic, that is, because obviously if you loaded up a magazine and put it in, why would that do anything? There's no round in the chamber. Now you can kind of trick it, and if you pull this really fast, you can get it to shoot. but treating it normally, just cocking it, okay, maybe it's not as reliable as I thought, but there you go. It won't always fire because, of course, to really trip the mechanism and to cock it properly, you do need to cycle it. Try again, actually. Yeah, there we go. You can see it won't shoot until cocked. Right, here's something that I've only just noticed quite recently, is it does occasionally jam. Now, this isn't an issue for me as just a sort of a collector and a back garden shooter, because it kind of adds to the experience, I guess, having to sort of unjam it. This is an issue I used to get on WE guns quite a lot, is where the barrel hasn't moved backwards with the slide quite well enough and it jams in the locking lugs. All you need to do to remedy it is either cock it really hard, although right now it's quite jammed quite badly, so you just push the barrel. Let's do that again. You just push the barrel. There we go. I haven't encountered many of these at all. I mean, I've owned this about a month now and I've probably got 2 or 3 jams in that time. And of course, now I'm doing the review, I'm getting lots and lots of jams. Possibly it needs a bit of lubing. I gave it a good clean the other day and didn't re-lube it. So it could be that it's just getting a little bit sort of sticky in there. But overall, ignoring that it has just jammed a few times, I haven't encountered that very much at all before. Easy enough to remedy, and you just need to put maybe a bit more lube on here. It's quite dry at the moment. Anyway, better finish this up. In conclusion, I could not be happier with this for the price. Again, I paid about £110 overall with postage, but you could get it a lot cheaper from Asia. I just wanted it quickly. That was the only reason I did that. But if you're looking for a sort of period-correct Russian gun, if you're looking for something interesting amongst the waves of Glocks and SIGs and 1911s and stuff, this stands out. It's definitely interesting. It's fun to play with. Yeah, I could not recommend it enough for the price. I was really excited to do a video like this just so I could get across. For people that have negative thoughts about WE, they do make some genuinely good guns. I will report back on this hopefully in a few months, and hopefully I'll be just as positive. You never know, maybe internally this is going to break down on me, I don't know. But at least externally and in terms of function, I am very happy with this, and yeah, I totally recommend it. Just makes a really nice, different gun from all the rest. And I've got more reviews on the way. WE Browning High Power. An interesting one I've got here. It's kind of got fake trades. Instead of saying Fabrique Nationale, it's got all the letters missing. It's an interesting gun, this. Got this very cheap, and it's pretty good. So I'll be reviewing that. Also, for anybody that enjoyed my older my TM gas blowback pistol reviews, well, I just got this, and I will indeed be reviewing their new USP Compact as soon as that's available. But for now, you're going to have to do with this HK45 review. I'll be filming this soon and putting it up, as usual. I don't think I've ever said anything different about a TM gun. It is great. This is one of the best gas blowback pistols you can buy. I know I say it a lot. Yeah, great gun. Review on the way. But for now, thank you very much for watching. WE Tokarev, totally recommended.